Hey y'all, I'm really excited to be doing a sewing vlog today. I'm gonna be sewing the sassafras set, which is by Sadie. It's a top and bottom, and the top is reversible. It also has like a little tie for the top and the bottom, so no zippers or anything like that. And I'm pattern testing for a new person that I've never pattern tested for before, which basically just means that you're making the pattern and making sure that the fit is right. You're giving them feedback on whether the instructions are clear, the pictures are clear. So I'm really excited. It's such a cute set, and I first need to find the fabric that I'm gonna use, and then I need to print out all the pieces of the pattern. I might actually do that at a print shop instead of printing it on my printer and then like piecing everything together. But yeah, I'm really excited. If y'all want to see what it's like to sew an entire outfit, then watch the rest of this video, and hopefully you can learn some stuff along the way if you don't know anything about sewing, or it can just be fun to watch. I'll put a picture up here of what the set looks like. The sassafras set is what it's called. I'm gonna look at a bunch of different colors and try and plan and see what would be the best fabric to pick for this. Okay, so this is what the top looks like. Very cute. There's a little tie at the front. And then these are the bottoms. So there's the option to do shorts here, but I think I'm just gonna do the pants. I will say I have sewn a lot of things in my time. I've sewn a lot of dresses, I've sewn like an apron, I have sewn like a top and a skirt, but I have never done pants. So it's gonna be a fun experience to sew pants for the first time, and we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be easy. I don't know, I'm hoping it'll be easier. I feel like it'll be easier than a dress, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I am also really excited about the fact that there are no zippers, because I can't deny I don't like sewing zippers, and it just feels like it'll be nicer to have a tie off, like much more comfortable, breathable, adjustable. It's all just gonna be really nice. Yeah, so I'm excited to sew this outfit, and let's pick out a fabric. This is kind of sad. This is the first project that I'm doing after Joann's has closed, so I guess we're just gonna be buying from Michael's because Michael's took over Joann. So it's kind of sad though. I don't know. I always used to go to Joann for fabric and just anything I needed sewing related or craft related. So the local Michael's here doesn't have a lot of fabric options. In fact, they basically have nothing. So I might have to buy it online. But I usually like going in person and like feeling the fabric and seeing what it's like, because this one, like this project, needs a lightweight fabric. So we're gonna see if I can just buy online, and hopefully it'll turn out cute. And also hopefully it ships quickly, because I only have about 2 weeks to pattern test, which should be plenty of time. But I don't know, whenever I start a sewing project, I just wanna like get going. And sometimes it's a problem because I should take some time and pause in between, but I don't know, I get excited about the project and I just want to do it all at once. Also, if y'all can see in the background, that's my dress form, and I'm going to be using that to ensure that the fit is right on my body. And basically you can adjust those to be your exact measurements, like your hip, waist, bust, all of that good stuff. There's even like a neck one. So I'm gonna be using that and pinning the top and bottoms that I'm making to that and making sure that it'll fit my body, which is really important for me. Okay, so the first thing I had to do was look for a fabric. So I looked on the Michael's website for quite a long time. I also went on Pinterest and looked at different fabrics and patterns for a two-piece set. And I eventually settled on this retro check one that I thought was really cute. And I paired it with a simple green fabric because I thought it was a little busy. And then the next thing I had to do was print out all of the pattern pieces, which there were a lot of them, and then I had to cut them out and tape them together. I didn't end up going to a copy shop like FedEx or Staples or whatever to print this out on blueprint paper because it was kind of expensive and I have a printer at home. So now I am just laying out all of the fabric, and then I'm gonna put the pattern pieces on top, the paper pieces, and then I'm gonna cut out everything that I need. And this pattern specifically, since it is reversible, I needed a lot of fabric, and that means I had to cut out a lot of different pieces. So it was a little bit tedious to do this, but something that makes it a lot easier is the fact that I have pattern weights, which are these little pink things on the ground, and I have a rotary cutter, which is the yellow tool, and essentially that just helps you cut pieces out much quicker. I also have fabric scissors, which I did end up using for certain parts, but it's nice to have the rotary cutter as an option. Obviously, if you were just starting out sewing, you do not need to have like a rotary cutter and the mat underneath it. It's called like a self-healing mat to cut out your pattern pieces. Literally all you need is pins and fabric scissors so that you can cut everything out. But I've been sewing for about 5 years now, and these are some things I really like. Next, I'm going to be pinning everything together in preparation for sewing it. So I'm starting with the top, and I'm placing everything right sides together and then pinning as I go along. When I first started sewing, I wouldn't pin because I thought it took too much time, but it's actually really important to pin things correctly because the fit gets really messed up if you don't pin it, and you can end up with like excess fabric, or you just aren't sewing exactly in a straight line and all of these things. So it's definitely worth it to pin. And here I'm starting to actually sew the top together. One thing I didn't mention that I did do beforehand was I washed and dried all of my fabric before I started using it. And this is really important to do because when your fabric arrives from Michael's or wherever, it's not been washed yet, and so you can tell it'll be very stiff, and it's really important to wash it to make sure that the stretch of the fabric is correct when you start sewing. Okay, and as you can see, it looks like the top is coming together really nicely, and it is for the most part, except for I messed up on the side armholes. Those were supposed to be connected to each other, so I ended up having to seam rip those out, which is totally fine and part of the process, to be honest. I think when I first started sewing, I would get really frustrated if I had to seam rip stuff because I didn't read the pattern correctly or if the pattern was confusing. And now I kind of just see it as part of the process. Like, it's okay if you have to seam rip and if you have to re-sew. It's all kind of just part of the journey of sewing this piece. But yeah, you can see here as I'm lining things up and I'm preparing to do the next step, I'm thinking something's not quite right here. These two side arm areas should be sewn together. So yep, I had to take it off and seam rip, and then I just sewed it back together and it was totally fine. One new thing that I did on this project was actually ironing the pieces and pressing the seams open, which I learned how to sew from my mom, and she had always said you should do that because it gives it a much cleaner, more professional look. But I just never really did it because honestly, sewing a piece is a lot of work and that's just like an extra step. But for this one, I decided to do it, and honestly, I was really impressed by how good it looks. Okay, and also, as you can see here, the top looks great. I seam ripped, I sewed that side back together, and then now I just have to do the right side. As you're sewing something new, I would also definitely recommend doing it incrementally. So for example, here where I had to seam rip and then sew the sides together again, I did the left side first, made sure it looked good, and then I did the right side. And as you can see here, it looks great. This is the green side and it turned out really nicely, and then this is the check side. Hey y'all. Okay, so I've been working on the top and I just wrapped it up. I think it looks really good. I did try it on and it's a little bit big for me, but I don't know. I was specifically trying to do a size up because last time I made a pattern and it was also a little bit too big for me, and then I just didn't end up wearing it. And I followed the sizes that are listed on the pattern, so I thought that it would be good. It's just a little bit big, and I'll show y'all the fit at the end. But yeah, this is the back. I finished everything up and I pressed everything with the iron. It's really cute, so it ties in the front, or if you want, you can also add like buttonholes on the sides so that you can make it this kind of top. But yeah, it ties in the front like this so that you can see the pattern on the other side. She also put in the pattern that you can do an 1/8" stitch around all of the edges just to make it look a little bit cleaner. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet or not, so I don't want to do it and then regret it, so I'm just waiting for now. But what she did, which I think is so cute, is she folded the edges of the sleeves up like this. I just think is so cute to have the pattern on the other side peeking out a little bit. And this is fully reversible, which is also so neat. So you basically get 2 outfits for the price of 1. So I'll flip it and show you all the other side. And just like that, reversed. So the top is all done. I'm gonna start working on the pants, which I have never sewn pants before, so I'm pretty excited, and the instructions look pretty straightforward. So yeah, this is the top, the reversed top. Let me know in the comments which pattern you like better, if you like this green or if you like the checker. Okay, I'm gonna get started on bottoms.
Okay, now we're gonna get started on the bottoms, and the first thing I had to do was sew these pocket squares that are gonna go on the back of the pants, and then also this little fly shield. So basically, because the pants tie in the front, there's a little bit of a gap where you need to cover the crotch basically. So that's what the fly shield is for. So here I am again, sewing everything right sides together, and to be fair, this part you can see I didn't pin, and if you can see, it looks a little bit wrinkly. Again, it's kind of just like you should pin every single time and you should press with the iron. Don't always do it, but here I am pressing with the iron, so at least I did half of it. So this is something that I should have done right at the beginning, but I forgot to do it, so it's totally fine to do it at this step. I'm basically marking where the pocket should be, and then I'm pinning the pocket to the pant fabric, so I know exactly where it should be. And honestly, I love that there's this little peek of the other fabric through on the back pocket. I just think it looks so cute. And if I make this again, I honestly might reverse it so that the majority of the pocket would be green on the checkered side of the pant, for example, and then you would just have this little like checkered flap coming down, because I think it could be cool to have even more contrast than there is. But yeah, here I'm just sewing the pockets onto the pants, and then I am pinning along the sides of the pants so that I can sew them right sides together. So I've actually never sewn pants before, so I did have a little bit of trouble with the fit, but the instructions specifically said turn them inside out at this stage and make sure that they fit over your hips and make sure that it looks somewhat correct. Even though I do have a desk where I can sew in our office, I always end up coming to the living room to sew and then taking over the entire living room. So as you can see, pattern pieces all over the floor, everything's everywhere, but this is just kind of what happens when you sew, and it's okay. Because these are pants, there were often just really long amounts of fabric that I had to sew together, so that's what a lot of this footage is. And then I worked on hemming the pants, and I originally was planning to sew them right sides together because that's what the pattern shows, but I actually couldn't quite get it to fit, so I just left it open at the bottom, which I think actually looks really cool, and I like the look of it because you can see the other fabric kind of peeking through, which I think is cute. And then here's the final look. It's all sewed together and I really love how it turned out. I love both of the fabrics that I ended up picking, and there are just so many different ways that you can wear this outfit, and I love that there aren't any zippers, so it's very adjustable and super comfortable.
So I just finished up filling out the feedback form for the pattern testing, and I took some pictures with the set on. So this is going to be the end of the sewing vlog. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please be sure to like it and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!